Hey, Editing Ron here. I just wanted to ask you to watch all the way through the video to the end because there's something like an announcement, I suppose, that I'm going to be making at the end of the video. And it will require some participation on your part. So, yeah, thanks for watching and enjoy the show. I think this one turned out really good. If you see ICE agents in Chicago, Illinois, or in my hometown of Springfield, Illinois, they are not police. If they claim that they are police, then they are lying to you and you are within your rights to punch them in the teeth for it. The reason for this is pretty simple. The people who are in control of both the city and state police, that is, the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Springfield, Jim Langfielder, and the governor of the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, have instructed the police to not cooperate with immigrations and customs officials. And while that might seem like a small thing, not having the cooperation of the local police makes immigration raids almost impossible. Springfield, Illinois has, as I've spoken about in the past, a large coal-fired power plant. The city of Springfield had bought this power plant with the intention of running it at a profit, but those plans fell through. And as of last month, I believe, most of that power plant has been shut down, either for repairs or permanently. And it was shut down because the City Council of Springfield, Illinois voted at the behest of the residents of Springfield, Illinois to shut it down, unanimously. During the housing crisis in 2008, the sheriff of Chicago, a man named Tom Dart, unilaterally decided that him and his department were no longer going to enforce eviction notices, solely because Tom Dart noticed that there were too many people being evicted, proving that at least once upon a time there was at least one good cop in Chicago. So, national elections are a fuck. I'll grant you that. I'll even grant you that unfucking national elections is nearly impossible. But I still want you to vote in your local elections. Let me explain to you why. There's this old Chinese proverb that I'm to understand says, "The mountains are high and the emperor is far away." What I'm to understand that this means is that something is only a crime if you get caught. And you're not going to get caught if the people who do the catching are over the mountains and far away. There's a very specific truth to this, at least in the United States, in that federal regulations do not affect the average person all that much. Actually, sidebar. So when I say that federal regulation doesn't affect most people, that cuts both ways. The lack of federal regulation concerning large multinational corporations has wrought havoc on the poorest people in our communities and the poorest people in the world. In that instance, it is still corporations wreaking havoc upon those poor people, and the federal government enabling the worst excesses of the authoritarian capitalist hellscape that we all live in, by not putting their thumbs on the scales. That's really it. Back to regular guy. Something I've spoken about privately is how a lot of people outside of the US don't seem to understand how the United States is intended to function. We're less of a country and more of a collective of 50-ish smaller countries. And the federal government, according to the Constitution, has 3 broad responsibilities. First is levying taxes, second is providing for a social safety net, and third is doing international stuff. The overall effect of this is that unless you are doing a very bad crime, your interactions with the federal government are going to be initiated by you and beneficial to you. And the federal government, due to the way our Constitution is structured, doesn't have a lot of leeway in this. State governments, on the other hand, have all of the power. Abortion laws, for example, have been fought on a state level since the 70s. Welfare programs are, by and large, funded on a state level. Every speeding ticket, every parking ticket, every loitering ticket, every ticket for fucking public drunkenness that you've ever gotten is due to a state, county, or city mandate, not federal ones. The disasters that happened in Kentucky and Michigan happened because libertarian shithounds got control of those state governments. And that last thing is key. I've talked before about how the GOP wants to grind the functions of the federal government down to nothing, but a lot of people overlook that there is a specific purpose for doing that. The GOP is working to enable corporations to build their own corporate fiefdoms. Corporations want to control as much of any given market as they can, and controlling an entire country's worth of goods is, pretty big. I'll have to make a video about economics at some point. Maybe a series of videos. And we're already seeing the first stages of those corporate fiefdoms being built in places like Michigan and Kentucky and Florida. Another sidebar. I'm talking about the Tea Party here. And I will grant, maybe, that in the beginning the Tea Party was well-meaning and had decent goals, like curbing corporate power, but it is a matter of historical record that they were very quickly overtaken and put under the control of corporate stooges like the Koch Foundation. And you know what, maybe you don't believe that, or maybe you don't believe that that's a bad thing, but at the very least, can we admit that these experiments in deregulation have been fucking disastrous for the people who have to live under them? The people of Flint still have lead in their water, for fuck's sake. And no, I'm not gonna let that go as long as I fucking live. Back to main guy. Ultimately, the problem with corporate fiefdoms is they always end in the reduction of people to objects, which leads to death. Sometimes mass death. Because, hey, when something breaks down, when an object breaks down, you just replace it, right? Even if it doesn't want to be replaced, right? I want to stress that this is not just a hypothetical concern. This is something that has happened in the past, and has caused major destruction and major societal upheaval across the fucking board. And again, we're in the beginning stages of seeing this happen again. And I don't know, maybe you're okay with relitigating the entire labor movement on a societal level, up to and including having miners gunned down by the National Guard at the behest of fucking Jeff Bezos or something. I'm not okay with that, though. I don't want that. And you prevent that by putting people in power, especially on a local level, who are more sympathetic to workers than they are to businesses. That's what we've done here in Illinois. And now, in Illinois, weed is legal, HRT is a mandatory part of health insurance, and you are legally allowed to punch ICE agents in the crotch. Because fascists don't deserve to get fucked. So, I want you to vote in local elections. That's what this whole thing is about. What I don't want you to do, though, is vote straight-line Democrat. And there are a lot of reasons for that. Like, I didn't even mention this in my last video, but the DNC and various state Democratic parties have very clearly put their fingers on the scale in a way that specifically harms Sanders. And I don't know, maybe if you're not okay with the Democrats trying to upheave a person who is the only person who can reasonably beat Trump, then have I got news for you. A question that I've gotten on Curious Cat and on Twitter is about the viability of third-party candidates. So I said before and I maintain, that on a federal level, they're not really that viable. But local elections are an entirely different beast. So I said in the video before last, the one where I make a pragmatic case to support Bernie Sanders, that one of the purposes of getting a large base, the main purpose even of getting a large base, is to get people to vote not just for you, but for the ticket that you're on. That is typically Democrat or Republican. The thing about that is that voters can be very fickle. See, very nearly every presidential election in history has been about the person running for president, not about the party. And a consequence of that is that there will always be a certain subset of people that vote for just the president and not the party. And it is a well-known phenomenon that the further down on the ticket, The more local the office, the less people vote for those offices, regardless of party affiliation. Up to and including state representatives who literally defecate on people's cars running unopposed in their district. My federal congressperson, a shitbag named Rodney Davis, has repeated great replacement white nationalist rhetoric in a venue where he was trying to get people to vote for him. And no, I am never going to let him live that down so long as I live. I will repeat that at his funeral. Because there are so many fewer people voting in lower ticket elections, up to and including people voting in the triple digits here in my city of Springfield, Illinois, it becomes a lot easier to elect people who are parts of less mainstream parties, or who have less mainstream ideologies. And I'm not just talking about the DSA or the Green Party here. Do you have a guy in an Ian Malcolm was right party talking about how economics doesn't work because of chaos theory? Maybe vote for that guy. Do you have someone in an Antifa super soldier party talking about how the white nationalism is the most pertinent threat to national security we have right now, and how it desperately needs to be combated? Maybe vote for that guy. Do you have a positivist party? No. No. Do not vote for the dolphin people. It is never a great day to drop the nukes. But even that's not quite enough. If you really want these smaller parties to flourish, even on a local level, then you've got to put your back into it. That means finding out what district you live in, finding out what people represent you, from the president down to city council, and finding out who is voting for those people. Especially find out who is voting for those people. Because the people doing the voting are your community. And those are the people who you want to support, and to be supported by. And ultimately, when democracy is successful, that's what it's about. Community. It is about supporting and protecting your community. Because you know what those people need. You know what you need. And all of you should have the power to have a say in that. And we are not going to be successful in anything that we do unless we are able to promise our communities, promise the people who live with us and who vote with us, that we can support them and keep them safe. So that's what we've got to do. Oh, finally this fucker is done. Okay, let's see what Editing Ron has to say. I think I had some plans for him. Oh, you had 36 hours worth of plans for me, you fucking hack! Look at me when I talk to you. I'm not going crazy, he's going crazy. But, on the plus side, that one's done. Yeah, Editing Run here. And I complain about it, but that did turn out, this whole video did turn out really well, I think. There are a couple of things. First off, there's this thing that I've noticed that I do where I leave the point of my video to be implied rather than stating it outright. I'm just going to tell you what the point of this video is. The point of this video is that local elections are much more important than federal elections, specifically because local politicians have the power to override federal politicians. That was the point of the examples at the beginning. The three people, Lori Lightfoot, J.B. Pritzker, and Langfielder, overrode Trump's decisions about immigrants and immigrations and customs. Very straightforwardly. They didn't do it directly, but like I said, without the cooperation of local law enforcement, you can't have immigration raids, because it's too dangerous and they don't know the people. Tom Dart in Chicago very, very directly overrode the federal response to the housing crisis. That is, you know, the bailouts and shit. And they did that because they could, and because it was the right thing to do. And because, you know, voters putting pressure on them. But yeah, point is, local elections are a lot more important than federal elections, because the federal government isn't doing a whole lot for you either way. as long as I'm talking about stuff, I'd like to thank Vuppet for their excellent Antifa Super Soldier artwork that I used in the video. Also, always pay the people who you commission, because they need food too. I said there'd be an announcement. There's something like an announcement too. So, I have 3 scripts ready about cancel culture and how it's related to empathy and also why it's bad. That's 3 scripts. The first one would presumably be about defining cancel culture, what it is and why it happens. The second one would specifically be about empathy and how leftists maybe don't do empathy very well. And the third one would be about the dichotomy between dirtbag leftists and, woke-skulled leftists, and why I really don't like that dichotomy and think that it's harmful. That's the plan, 3 videos, but I would like to do an experiment, and I'd like to know how much my audience would be on board with that. Something that I could do, something that I try to do, is put out I try to, and I consistently fail to maintain a consistent stream of content. About 2 videos a week. I live stream when I have the time. And, oh, I've also fixed OBS so I can live stream more. And, so I try to maintain that stream of content so that people always have something on their feed, at least once a week. I think I'm pretty sure I've had at least 1 video a week since never. Not the point. So what I would like to do with the cancel culture video, instead of releasing 3 10 to 20 minute long videos, is release one lengthy, 45-minute video. This isn't just because... This isn't about advertising or anything. I don't get advertisements from my channel, just because I don't get enough views. This is about me wanting to try a different format, but I don't want to do that if it would be disruptive to other people's schedule. And I know very much that there are people who specifically watch these videos because they expect them to be, as has been described to me, a reasonable length. So I'm going to put a poll up on my YouTube channel in the community section, and I'm going to put a link. I'm going to put up a Twitter poll too about that, just to see if the people would be on board, and I would like for you to participate in that. You, the people viewing this. If it ends up being voted against, then I'll just go with what the plan was in the first place. But I might want to, in future, make significantly longer videos. I know that I have at least 1 video that's been in the works since last September that's going to be at least an hour long. And that's the video about Akira that I delayed because my grandpa died. So yeah. That's the announcement, as it were. There will be links to that in the description of the video and in a pinned comment. And that's everything I have to say. Regular links are also in the description. That is my Curious Cat if you want to send me questions anonymously, or if you just want to harass me. You can send me some harassment over on Curious Cats. I am the shores of eternity. Crash upon me and be broken. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to see what kind of shenanigans that I'm up to on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter very much recently, though. And if you found this video informative or entertaining at all, you can donate to my Ko-Fi account if you'd like. I don't want anyone to feel obligated to send me money. I'm doing this because it's important to me. All of this is very important to me. But every little bit of money that I get does help a great deal, especially now. And so yeah, one way or another, the next video I make is going to be about cancel culture. Strap yourselves in, I guess. And until we get there, take care of yourselves, alright?